Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands. Welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we're going to be checking out a track from an act named Second Choice titled Celestial Tragedy featuring Dimi De San. And if we switch over to here, this is music from Frederick Lindstrom, and I'm glad to be hearing this track today, more of it. I believe I've reviewed music from them before. Yeah, I've previously checked out their song Edge of Light, if I'm not mistaken, Edge of Light. So we're going to listen through this song today from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, Celestial Tragedy. Ah, fantastic. That hi-hat though, man. I think that the guitars on the sides might be a little bit too resonant. I'm not sure though. It's just great to have the toms with these operatic parts. Leaving shadows where they shone. Oh, that low end though. Yeah, so I'm not really sure how to interpret this one from a lyrical perspective. I'll probably have a quick listen through before we go to the chorus, the conclusion, but it's incredibly dramatic though, isn't it? Still, I feel there's a lot to appreciate though, and we'll talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Second Choice, titled Celestial Tragedy, featuring Dimi De San. Now, what do we think this track is about? I think this song is about someone who is describing this love beyond galaxies, a love across time, whispers through there, like lost and alone. You get the impression reading through this that there's like the butterfly effect involved with all the things that this has touched, almost like a forbidden love that they could never get together, no matter how hard they tried. You got lines like silver tears fall like dying flames, and it's incredibly poetic and well written. And I think the lyrics are from Dimi De San, and then the music is by Frederick Lindstrom, and I think Dimi De San sings as well. So like there's a nice sort of collaboration partnership between those two, and it's really intriguing music. And it's really interesting to hear how that music has been interpreted by the vocalist slash singer slash lyricist. And it's just, I think I'd need a few listens through this to really sort of gather a really good solid emphasis of what this is about, but I feel like there's enough mystery and intrigue there for me when I hear more. In terms of the actual vocal performance itself, my understanding is that this was an attempt to combine the ethereal and symphonic style of bands like Nightwish, which I can hear within this. I can hear influences of bands like Nightwish, with something more primal like Scandinavian traditional music. Now, I'm wondering if that's related to like the really interesting sort of gritty sub-layer kind of elements there, that low bass there, that sort of impending warning or doom, that sort of grieving process for whatever we're discussing there. I'm wondering if that's how they're fused together. The vocalist did tremendous work with their pipes, great head and chest voice, wonderful vibrato, great use of their range across the track there, typically present across whatever's put in front of us. The guitars on the side were like a little bit too resonant for my tastes, but aside from that, I still could hear what was going on there. I thought that the words came through quite clearly. It's just you've just got to kind of like, I think, just sit there just kind of reading through the lyric sheet to kind of really sort of figure out the tale that's being told here. The music, I think, overall describes a general theme of it, but there's little nuances that I'd like to sort of figure out again later on. I feel as if what's gone on with the actual vocal performance, though, it's just tremendous. We're very comfortable in front of a microphone. The tone is very fragrant. That operatic sort of approach as well, stylistically, creates this feeling of sort of like it's kind of grandiose, this larger than life situation within the music where the themes that we're talking about are bigger than we could possibly imagine. And that's a bit kind of magical when you think about it, that it kind of enforces that. And that can't be done unless you're competent. And everyone here is very competent. I think once you move on from the vocal performance being very proficient to the rest of the track of 4 minutes 17, it's just such an interesting through composed poetic piece there. And I like the fact that we aren't necessarily trying to sort of like rely on a traditional structure like verse, chorus, etc. I like that the instrumental layers and everything sort of develops as you go along. It's just very, very good. I think one of the things I appreciated earlier on, like in regards to the extra instruments outside of the vocals, was the extra sound of the drums, like those hi-hats, the kind of dirty hi-hats there, the reverb tails on them, the clarity of them, even like sort of like the sampling of the kicks and stuff like that. They just sounded nice and rounded full, and I think suit the genre neatly because of how heavy they can be, but also was sounding very, very, very clean, almost sort of Dream Theater-ish. But the keys as well, with the sense of trepidation and tenseness, it's just tension. It's just, they highlight both the comfortable and uncomfortable parts there. And it's just kind of going between those and trying to sort of feel out how they relate to the lyrics at that point. But there's also these kind of like interesting sort of like background effects, these kind of grumbles and rumbles and all that kind of stuff there that go around the right hand, the keys, or the bass, or the, the rolling with those root notes, or the drums, exploring different cymbal patterns and the main sort of 4 rhythms in music, quarters, eighths, triplets, and sixteenths. It's just the actual atmosphere that's created by these additional layers. They make it very special, even if they're sort of subliminal or sub layers themselves. I think that the use of distorted guitars there later on in the piece, combined with the strings that we have to add a sense of emotional urgency to it, they're very compelling there. There's an overwhelming sort of sense of sadness there that makes sense when you look through the lyrics. And so you've got things pretty well tied up. And again, if we talk about the whole Nightwish thing, the kind of the perky, peppy, kind of like sort of like prompt drum parts there with a bit of sort of like reverb on the kit there for a bit of a sort of like a power ballad kind of effect. With the distorted guitars typically rolling between single string stuff or power chords there, it's very effective. I think there are some string elements and more traditional ingredients as we go later on, in addition to those low parts. And I think the string section expanding itself to more sort of sort of like traditional elements, makes it a bit more sort of like, it kind of grounds it a little bit. You kind of get the feeling of, oh, okay, not only are we trying to go for something sort of larger than life, but we're also trying to sort of like make it a little bit sort of like synthetic. It's trying to, like, it kind of reminds you of sort of ye olden days to a certain extent, or like Norse mythology. And it's just stuff like when we had like the tom fills a bit earlier on, they were comfortable exploring the entire drum kit, working with the strings later on, the piano taking us out at the end with that bell curve having been completed. It's just when you combine all these different ingredients as well as any other instruments I haven't mentioned, the way that we sort of like lumbered our way through the track, that was like heavy. Even when there weren't as many sort of distorted or sort of chuggy elements there's just a sense of weight and gravity to this piece there. Nothing was trying to rush through it. It was almost like a funeral march. It is a celestial tragedy, and it sounds like something had gone horribly wrong in terms of the way it sort of carried itself and positioned itself. Complete minor focus there, really highlighting the thirds and stuff like that, really highlighting the notes that make it sound especially sad. And like, even if it kind of takes away from that sort of impression occasionally, whether through dynamic range, whether through simply trying to be more sort of percussive or vocal oriented specifically, it never really goes away. That theme continues. Like, there's some bright parts around the 3-minute mark where there's some little sparkles up in the night sky and stuff like that, and it sort of sounds like it's twinkling there, which makes sense for the celestial tragedy, almost like a star has died. But like, it's a momentary, it's a kind of a chapter thing. There's lots of different chapters within this piece, and that's part of what makes it interesting, which is, again, great use of that 4-minute 17 form factor. We absolutely have no filler within this song. It's not a track which kind of speeds you through because of how fun it is. It's more like trying to get you to respect what it is, and you're left in a position where you do that happily because it's recorded and performed well. Well, in terms of recording, actually, I think, again, that there was a competent performance there. The guitar, bass, drum, so any key parts, etc., and the vocals, they niched and amalgamated together well. The guitars, I still think, on the side were a little bit too loud. But aside from that, everything else within the actual frequency spectrum, the stereo field, in terms of the studio production, was very, very good. I appreciate the balance of different elements and ingredients within it and how they were given their own sort of like position and time to shine. I like the fact that we deliberately focused on certain parts of the sort of like low, mids, and highs for certain bits to kind of stack it and make, not just from an narrator perspective, but also from a post-production perspective, making those incredibly effective. And there was dynamic range to this. Parts where things got very quiet, we perked ourselves back up again. Very professional in terms of the loudness of it as well. Wasn't sort of choking itself. Just another great song from second choice Fredrik Lindstrom and then Dimi De San. Fantastic collaboration, and I enjoyed my time with this track, even though, again, it was very sad. It's still nonetheless a really worthwhile listen. And thank you for watching my review of it. This track, Celestial Tragedy, hopefully enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.